An interesting article that came out in the New Yorker today, and it's bringing attention to something that I've been trying to bring attention to since 2011, since Derek Colling walked into my driveway and decided to beat the shit out of me, even though I was recording legally from my own driveway. There's an excellent article written by Abe Street, very detailed, very thorough. I'll put a link in the description. But this is a serious subject matter of these cops, who I call gypsy cops, continue to stay in law enforcement. And Derek Colling, I know that's difficult for some people to say, Derek Colling, and spell check doesn't like that name, by the way, either, uh, has been rehired in Laramie, Wyoming, after he was fired from the police station. Now, this article doesn't mention me specifically, but it's a great article. Um, it talks about Tanner Chamberlain. That case was really messed up, but within 45 seconds of showing up at the scene while officers were de escalating the situation, Derek Colling shot and killed a 15-year-old who was holding his mother hostage. Um, it talks a great deal about how um, their lengthy the pursuit of justice, how his mother had gone to the appeals court only to be sent away. Um, this was his second fatal shooting in 3 years. Uh, they got no justice in that case. A circuit court denied the mother's case, saying, "Guess what? Uh, he's got." Oh God, I'm drawing a blank at the word now. Qualified immunity. So there was no justice in that case. Skip forward to 2011 here. Beat a videographer. That's what I've been reduced to in the news now. Um, and they fired him. And they only fired him because the Stanley Gibson videotape had come out, and some citizens had learned from me to record the police in the neighborhood, and they happened to be standing outside their balcony. The cops in Vegas came up with a story, and the video proved otherwise. And it pissed off Sheriff Doug Gillespie at the time so much that he got rid of Colling. But then it turns out that Colling was recommended to this Laramie, Albany County, Wyoming police department because his father was is a highway patrol officer in the area. And lots of people were very, very upset at this. Lots of people did not want Colling and knew about him and raised a ruckus. And some people are now representatives in the state Wyoming House. Um, that's amazing all in itself. They should make a movie about Carly Provenza, an absolute champion of and spearheaded the fight to get justice after Colling killed his third person, after being rehired, after I got him fired. You following along? This article is great. This article goes into great detail. It talks about all these things. It's a long article. For those of you who don't like to read, it's probably not going to help you much, but it's certainly helped me and helped bring attention to this case of this gypsy cop, Derek Colling, who I call a legalized serial killer. And there are others. There's Brian Yant. Brian Yant has killed 3 people, and he's still on the force in Las Vegas Metro. There was Derek Chauvin. Yes, Derek Chauvin had all kinds of complaints against him. There's quite a few officers that have killed and killed again. There was recently a one in Chicago, I believe. I believe it was Chicago. They're all over the place in every department, everywhere. So this talks about how to get them fired, and how much of a process that is, and how much dedication and how time consuming, and how each little step along the way will is excruciating. It's a long process. It's nearly impossible to get fired as a police officer. It really truly is. But things are changing. Things since George Floyd. There's a lot more attention to these types of matters, and I'm really happy that Abe Street did this article. It's a very good article. It's a very good read. This is real journalism. This is not YouTube journalism. Um, this is somebody who, crossed their T's and dot their I's and knew everything about the situation and reported it in a fair and clear and very informative way. It was on Apple News. It's going viral. It's an interesting time we live in right now where cops are starting to be held accountable, but Derek Colling is one that has not. And in my opinion, he's a legalized serial killer. And I'm working hard to try to get him fired again. This part here talks about David O'Malley. He was the sheriff at the time that Colling had shot and killed Robbie Ramirez, his high school choir mate and baseball teammate. Colling grew up in Laramie, Wyoming, and David O'Malley was somebody who was out in front after the Matthew Shepard killing. And everybody knows who Matthew Shepard is. They made movies about him. There's plays about him, all that stuff. This article talks a lot about that, the Laramie Project. And apparently O'Malley was well loved and well liked by people in the community because he took such a strong stance against it. But, whenever there's a high profile case in your jurisdiction, you're kind of obligated to do so. O'Malley's a real piece of shit. He's the one that hired Derek Colling. He said that he had no reason to believe that Derek Colling would be a problem. And then he killed again in 2018. So O'Malley, he got upset. He's a Democrat. There were people to the left in Laramie that organized and did everything in their power. And I mean everything in their power, even winning a seat in the Wyoming state legislature. And it talks about her too, Carly Provenza, who is absolutely one of my heroes. My other hero is Darnella Frazier. She's absolutely my hero. So O'Malley says here that Vegas defended Derek Colling. Even after they paid me out and even after they fired him, they still recommended him. And then it says that other people like Kevin McMahill's husband or wife, I wonder if he beats her. And she said, "No, that's bullshit. We didn't like him. I was spearheading that investigation, and he violated several policies, and we felt that he was an unfit officer." Oh boy, Las Vegas Metro has gotten good at spin control since October 1st, haven't they? That was not the case, and I never felt that way until I read, or even thought that way, till I read this article that I wouldn't have come close to pulling his certification. Or it wouldn't have come close to pulling his certification, is what she said. Even though she didn't like him. I'm not going to give this whole article away. It's the New Yorker's article. Obviously, I'm just trying to go over this here a little bit. But it's extremely hard to get an officer decertified. It's extremely hard to sue an officer who has qualified immunity. These are why people say things like defund the police. These are why people are upset. These are why people are marching, because police have too much power. So it goes on to talk about Tamir Rice and the officer Timothy Lohman, who has had all kinds of problems himself. These are just small examples. There's other officers that are problematic that get hired in another city over. This article is about how the process works to try to get an officer decertified so they can't, even though sometimes they can go into other jurisdictions and other states because of the way that their laws are. So we need one basic law at the federal level that doesn't allow um, these gypsy cops to just keep moving along every time that they've had, an incident. Um, so right here, it says here that O'Malley had called him the best man for the job because nobody wanted to work in that. It's a small town. And options are limited. So McMahill, I am shocked he got a job with another police agency. Really? Where was this Las Vegas Metro talking point in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016? Where was that talking point? I never heard that shit before. Not until I ambushed Kevin McMahill and asked him about why I was, targeted in front of the convention center. Oh, yes, I recorded it again. And for those of you that aren't familiar, yeah, I've got videos. They've definitely, Metro has punished me several times since over bullshit. No bike light, hitting another car when all evidence says I didn't, riding my bicycle on a sidewalk, bullshit reasons, being targeted. So this is a line of bullshit. I'm trying to make this video short. This article, I don't want to give too much of it away again, but here we have where the mother of Robbie Ramirez, she didn't sit down. She was well plugged into the community. She ran a bar. She knew everybody in town. She reached out to the mother of Tanner Chamberlain, and they decided, you know what, we've got to get this guy out. And the amazing thing is the small community of Laramie, Wyoming has gone above and beyond anything I've ever seen Las Vegas do. And they just were like, no, we're not taking no. And the system, the DAs, the sheriff, the whole law enforcement apparatus defended Colling. And now that things have changed a little bit, Joe Biden is the president, and they're starting to reevaluate some of these cases and some of these people, like Derek Colling, the legalized serial killer gypsy cop. So it goes into the details, very, very good details about what happened that day, what the body cam showed. I'll put a link in the description of the video. I started getting a lot of traffic, and I was like, I wonder what's going on. And I opened up my Apple News app and saw that this was trending. So I was like, I've got to make a little comment on this since it involves me. So here it talks about Collier Provenza and Albany County for proper policing, the DCI, Department of Criminal Investigations. The one last point I want to make here is, was it DCI? No, it's where is it at? It's a long article, like I said. Okay. Here's Provenza soon started gathering signatures for a petition that called for Colling's decertification. Now, this is what I want to talk about. Each state is different, and the decertification process should have started in Las Vegas, that this guy was unfit to be a police officer, but they don't. So yeah, there's Derek Colling and Derek Chauvin, too many synchronicities. I feel sorry for their family. They've had to endure a lot. Both these two families, Evia Kendo and Deborah Hinkle. Let's see where. So yeah, it was a bullshit parade. They weren't serious about charging. It was an election year, the midterms that year. It happened 2 days after the midterms. From what I understand, in Laramie, Wyoming, Colling had a bunch of businesses. He was a real estate developer, or a real estate person, a landlord. Ooh, we know how we love those landlords. And make money for you providing housing to them. Um, how you like that, free market fuck? And then so no amount of evidence will ever convince an idiot, Mark Twain said, and that's why O'Malley decided not to pursue charges or fire Derek Colling. So now O'Malley has not O'Malley. He quit a month before he was due to finish his term as the sheriff, and now they have their first black sheriff in Wyoming's history. So they kept going and kept going on this. I don't see where that article. I'm trying to find that one part because that's my last point here. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you for paying attention to this serious matter. I know it's not like getting a ticket. Oh, let's cry about it and have everybody fucking share it. It talks about what it will take to get Colling fired at this point. And I can't find it here because I want to say the name, because I spoke to Chris on the phone, and I spoke to him for about an hour on the phone, and he asked me a whole bunch of questions about what happened. And one of the most interesting things that has been left out of this story is that Colling knew I was filming. There's a 45 minutes, but everybody only saw the part where he gets out of the car in the driveway and walks up to me. He says to me at about 25 minutes in, "Oh, let me bring out my camera and start filming," in a sarcastic way. The DCI guy that's going to decertify Derek Colling, and I'm probably giving a little bit too much away here, and maybe not. I mean, you can't trust the police to police themselves. That's the whole point why we're here. Did not know that there was 45 minutes of video that day. None. See, that was never even brought up in my civil case against Metro, because it never went to trial and it never got that far. But somehow I think they knew because I posted it to YouTube. I'm not going to post it now because it's being used in a docuseries and I don't want to spoil anything. But yes, I was filming for 45 minutes. Yes, he acknowledged me filming from inside, outside, side of the house. He knew I was filming. When he got out of the car and said, "Do you live here?" And I said, "Nope." I thought it was a sarcastic comment that, I live here. You fucking said 3 times, acknowledged me 3 times. You're talking to the girl sitting across the street. Nobody ever saw the rest of that video. They only saw him beating me up. And so he goes, "Can you provide a link for me on that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, maybe that's not such an important factor in all of this. Maybe, But for me, that always showed that he was upset that I was filming, plain and simple. And the actual video that everybody saw was just, the highlight. They saw the highlight of that. And he didn't know. Nobody knew that existed. Oh, some people do. A lot of people do. Not the right people knew. So I'm hoping that will get Derek Colling fired and decertified once and for all. He will no longer have qualified immunity. He will no longer be able to kill with a badge. He's killed 3 people. He's going to probably kill another. They've got him on desk duty, just like Brian Yant here in Las Vegas. But he's a loose cannon. I know. I'm the only one that survived an encounter with him, a violent encounter with him. So that decertification process is a long and arduous process. It started last year. I was interviewed last summer and spoke with Chris for make the right move, dude. I provided you with some key evidence And I would love to get him fired for the second time. Oh, that would be great. It wasn't me though. It was all the city of Laramie. It was all the people of Las Vegas that know who this guy is. Um, they interviewed me for Fox 5 in the Review Journal over his latest bullshit. Um, and I'm really glad that this article came out. I'm really glad that Abe Street did his due diligence. This is called real journalism. It's a long read, but well worth it. Um, and it takes more than just having a YouTube page to try to change cops' behavior. Is what I'm trying to say. Um, and you can't do it overnight. It takes follow through. It takes commitment. It takes dedicated people, and uh, it's a problem, and it's a problem that needs to be addressed and dealt with, and this article does. And finally, the story of Derek Colling will make national headlines.